Hey, welcome back, everybody. I hope you had a wonderful break. I hope it was relaxing, and I hope that you're not too terribly freaked out or stressed out or anything like that. Obviously, these are strange times, as we've said a bunch of times already. All right, so now that we're moving on, we're going to take a look at the final unit in IB Global Politics, which is called Peace and Conflict. It's a unit that most students find pretty interesting and hopefully a unit that will inspire some new ways of thinking about things that you probably already have some ideas about. So, let's start with something in the news. On March 22nd, President Trump, in a White House briefing on the coronavirus, referred to himself as being a wartime president, or at least like a wartime president. And I wondered what you actually thought about this comment. Did you think that this was a fair way of describing the situation right now? Was this political theater, or are there ways in which we actually are kind of at war? He's said it a bunch of times that there's this invisible enemy and we're at war, and probably used it to expand his emergency power to try to respond to the crisis, right? But of course, technically, most of us would probably define war a little bit differently. But I think that we use these terms, peace, war, violence, we use them pretty frequently. But the meaning is not necessarily that precise. If you think about it hard, there are probably lots of examples that might compare to war, or you might think are warlike, and yet may not fit the traditional definition of war, and yet we have all these things that we call wars that don't fit those traditional wars either. I wonder, are we at war right now? How would you answer this question? Well, you might say, yeah, we're at war with coronavirus. You might say, well, technically we're at war in Iraq and we're at war in Afghanistan. We still have armed forces over there and we're ongoing. Are we still fighting the Cold War? I mean, we have many of the military bases that are remnants, leftovers from the Cold War all over the world, including in Italy and Germany and other places in Western Europe. Um, what about the war on poverty? It's been going on since the Lyndon Baines Johnson administration in the 1960s. What about the war on drugs, which started under Ronald Reagan in the 1980s? These things are technically still ongoing. Are they wars? It's hard to say. I wonder. I usually like to do a little stunt in the classroom. In philosophy class, on the first day, I would have the students actually write their names on name tags, like I did in our class, and have the little, trifold stand with your name on it. And I would always pick out one student who wrote their name a little bit lighter in pencil, or wrote it kind of sloppily, or in small letters, or whatever. And I'd get really angry, and I'd grab the name tag and I'd tear it up and throw it away, and say, "Hey, you did such a terrible job of this." And then eventually I'd crack up after everybody was really weirded out. And I'd say, was that an act of violence? It's actually not such an easy question to answer. Does violence require bodily harm? Does it require active bodily harm? Um, is it a violent act if I expose you to something that I know might get you sick or hurt, something risky, something dangerous, and it just takes a really long time for that risk or danger to actually happen? So, such as in the case of like people who've been exposed to toxic chemicals, maybe. Could you compare that to an act of murder? Is it a violent act to do something negligent that causes people harm? Let's think about a lot of other examples. What about words? Can words or gestures be considered acts of violence? Now, this is a really interesting question. Uh, the question of violent speech. Is speech really able to be considered violent? Excuse me. Um, but maybe you might think of offensive speech or even hateful speech. If it doesn't cause bodily harm, should it be considered a form of violence? Is it considered a form of violence? Obviously, if you leave a threatening message for someone, or you send them a threatening text message, you could get convicted of a crime. So they might be violent acts. It's hard to say, though. Most people usually have the idea of violence as involving some kind of force inflicted to actually cause physical harm or physical pain. But what about this protester? So obviously a provocative sign, but a sign that's basically glorifying killing of police. And you could say, all my heroes kill whomever, and honestly make the same question, beg the same question. It doesn't matter if it's cops or if it's somebody else. But if it says all my heroes kill immigrants, or if it says all my heroes kill um, unwed mothers, or if it says all my heroes kill deadbeat dads, I don't know, whatever group you want to put in there, you could probably ask the same question: is this a form of violent speech? Should it be protected by the First Amendment? How about humorous stuff? I don't think this person intended to mean any particular harm or threat, but it certainly probably made some people uncomfortable to dress up like a member of ISIS with a beheaded head that you're carrying around. Can some humor actually be considered violent? Can it go too far? Can it cause people such physical discomfort, um, hurt your feelings to the point where you actually would consider it a form of violence? This is not the most obvious answer. There's a lot of controversy about this. Some people would say absolutely not, and other people would say, if you can think of an extreme enough example, for example, let's talk about Daniel Tosh. Daniel Tosh is a comedian. He hosts a show called Tosh.0 on Comedy Central, or at least he did for a really long time. I don't know if he does anymore. But he has gotten into a lot of trouble for making jokes about rape. I heard a couple of these jokes, and in one case, he made a joke about basically sexual molestation of children. Um, and in another case, I remember a joke that he made where he joked about basically, as an April Fool's joke, replacing his sister's mace with her banaka, and then she got raped. And how she came back at him was like, "Oh, that was a really good one." And the crowd almost responds with are we allowed to laugh at that? Are we supposed to laugh at that? Wow, this is uncomfortable. And of course, some people are just revolted automatically. Um, but I think that the most scholarly criticism of these kinds of jokes is that he's actually contributed to a kind of culture that normalizes and accepts rape by poking fun at it. Um, I think you could also just be empathetic and say, if someone had been sexually assaulted and then heard a joke like that, just think of how uncomfortable it would make them feel in all likelihood. I mean, maybe some people would be exceptions, but I'm sure most people that had experienced some kind of trauma like that, to hear it be joked about by a comedian might hurt a lot. But should we consider that violent speech? I think there are a lot of people out there who might think that censoring jokes and starting to call humorous speech acts or humorous acts violent might be going too far and might be too far in the wrong direction, in the direction of censorship. Um, I guess we would ask the same question about conflict or war. So when we think about violence, we could also think about what we mean when we say war. Just incidentally, I tried typing the word war into Google Images, and this was the first one that popped up. I don't know where it's from. I think it's from Syria, but his camouflage would suggest otherwise. That's more of a, it's not necessarily like a Middle East desert kind of camouflage, but maybe it's just a photographer. I don't know, but does this speak war to you? And there are explosions going on in the background. It seems some evidence of destruction, sandbags maybe creating a barricade, a barrier. What actual conditions warrant this label war? And I wonder if you think that there's a war going on in Newark right now, for whatever reason. Do you think it's fair to actually say that? Um, and whatever your answer is, there's no right or wrong answer, but it would depend on how you're defining it. What actually would constitute war? If you're thinking about the absence of civil military relations, if you're thinking about the violence maybe between police or between rival territorial gangs, although that doesn't seem to be quite as widespread as it was several years ago. There's still, roughly 100 murders a year in Newark. Um, and then, of course, you might think that there's a war going on just in the kind of negligence of society, letting people suffer in homelessness and in poverty and in a condition of worth the lack of opportunity. If you did answer yes, I wonder, when do you think it began? This is one of the interesting questions about war. Should we think of it as an event with a definite beginning and end? Um, or is that a bad way to think about it? Also, if you can identify it as having a beginning, what do you think it would take for the war to be over? Could there be some kind of peace that would actually end the ongoing war in your city? So I just want you to kind of think about what factors contribute to your answer, and post your interpretation of this question on Edmodo, and that'll be the assignment for today. Now, you can post it as a reply, or you can post it in the actual assignment if you don't really want to share it with the rest of the class. The last thing I'll say is that when we're looking at the first part of this, we're going to examine some different interpretations of peace, some different interpretations of what conflict and violence mean, including some rather untraditional notions that have been very influential, both in academia and in government, the notions of positive peace and structural violence. We'll also look at some various types of conflict, and we'll look at some types of strategies to end conflict or to resolve conflict, including the three big ones, the three big things that you'll see in the GLOPO curriculum all the time: peacemaking, peacekeeping, and peace building, which we'll look at in 2 lessons from now. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and please post your thoughts on Edmodo, and I will talk to you soon. Take care, y'all.